Hi students, this is Miss Tomorrow, and today we're going to talk about ellipses. So an ellipse kind of looks like a circle, but it's squished. And you probably have heard the word ellipse before and the word elliptical. So when you go on an elliptical machine at the gym, your feet are actually going in an elliptical motion. So let's take a look at the equations first. Okay, so the equations of an ellipse are almost the same as a circle. It starts with x squared plus y squared. Notice that it equals 1. Okay, all equations equal 1. And they have an a squared and a b squared under the x squared and y squared. Okay, everything else, though, is the same as a circle. So the h and the k are the same. It's just the a and the b. So what are the a and the b? Well, the center over is the length of a. And it's from the center over. These are called vertices, or it's the vertex. So there's 4 vertices, here, here, here. Okay? So if it goes left and right, the a and the b don't really matter, but if it goes left and right, it has to go under the x squared. The b is the distance from the center up, so that has to go under the y squared. Okay? And remember, just like a circle, there's a plus sign in between. Okay, the focus. So F1, F2, these are foci or focus points. Okay, focus points are always on the major axis or the longer axis. So foci are on the major axes. Major axis, okay? And the major axis is the longer one. So if I look at my other picture, again, notice the focus are up and down because they're on the longer axis. Okay, so a couple things we want to know. 2A is the horizontal length because I go from here to A and here to A. So if I want the whole length, it's 2A. And the vertical axis length, B is there, so it's 2B. And the focus length is radical A squared minus B squared. So if I want to know the length, let's say from here to here, that's what F is. That's the focus. Now, in my formula, it can be radical B squared minus A squared. The A and the B don't really matter. What matters is that whatever that number is has to be the bigger number. Otherwise, we get an imaginary number, and that just wouldn't make sense. Okay? So we're going to go over a few examples, and you're going to try a few. It'll make more sense when we actually do an example. So let's look at the first one. It says to sketch the ellipse. Now, in your equations, you noticed that ellipses are always equal to 1. So we need to divide everything by 324 to get a 1 on the other side. So whenever it says to write an equation, get it equal to 1. So in my calculator, I'm going to divide 36 by 324. I'm going to get 1/9, which means it's x squared over 9. And then I'm going to do the same thing. 9 divided by 324 is 1 over 36, so it's going to be y squared over 36, and that equals 1. So obviously my center is going to be 0, 0, because I don't have a number with the x and the y. And then my a and my b number are the square roots. So a is going to be 3, and b is going to be 6. So that means from the center, I'm going to go over 3 and left, right 3 and left 3, because again, when it's under the x, you go left and right, and the 6 is under the y, so that means I go up and down. And then we connect it, and there's my ellipse. Okay, so letter B is already kind of done for you. You just have to sketch it, so try to sketch letter B. Okay, let's look at a couple other questions. These are just writing equations given this information. Each is centered at the origin. So if the center is at the origin, I know right away it's going to be x squared plus y squared equals 1. And I have to find the numbers underneath. So what I usually do is draw a little sketch. The center's at 0, 0, and it says the vertex is 0, 9. So 0, 9 would be up here. That means from the center I went up 9. So my A number or my B number, whatever you want to call it, is 9. And what is 9 squared? 81. So the 81, since I went up, has to go under the y squared. So the letter A and B don't really matter. All right, minor axis, that's the shorter axis. And obviously, I know my major axis is up 9, down 9, so my major axis would be 18, because major means bigger. So the minor axis is 5. That means from here to here is 5. That means from the center over is half. It's 2.5. So 2.5 squared, A is 2.5. 2.5 squared is 6.25. Normally these numbers are whole numbers, but you could get a decimal. All right, let's take a look at letter B. Same thing, centered at the origin. So we're going to do x squared plus y squared equals 1. I'm going to draw a little picture. Center's at 0, 0. So there we go. Vertex is negative 17, 0. So there's negative 17. And that is the vertex. And then the focus is negative 8, 0. So wherever the focus is means this is going to be the major axis. Okay? So my A number is going to be 17 because that's the length from the center. So 17 squared is 289, and that's going to go under the x because I went left and right because it would go all the way here to 17. Okay. Now, the only other information I have is the focus length. So my focus formula is radical a squared minus b squared. Again, the a and the b don't matter. What matters is the bigger number always goes first. And I know that 289 is my bigger number because that's where the focus is. So I'm looking for b squared, and then the focus is the length. So the length from the center over is 8. So this is going to equal 8. All right, the b squared is under a radical. To get rid of a radical, I need to square both sides. So 8 squared is 64. The radical disappears. So then I'm going to subtract my 289. I'm kind of running out of room. From both sides. So negative b squared equals 225. Negative 225. So obviously the negatives would cancel and b squared would be 225. So that's going to be the number under the y squared. Okay, let's take a look at some completing the squares. Oh no, we're not going to complete the square yet. We're actually going to do some where the center is a little different. So sketch each one, find the center, the vertices, and the focus. Okay, center is super easy. Negative 2, 4. So we got negative 2, 4. Okay. And then my vertices, let's see, A is 6, B is 2. That means I'm going to go over 6 and over 6 because it's under the x number. I'm going to go up 2 and down 2. Okay, so I did the best I could do. Okay, so the vertices are these 4 coordinates here. All right, the 4 coordinates that I did here, 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 here. So vertices, I'm going to write the coordinates down. I have 4, 4, negative 8, 4, negative 2, 2, and negative 2, 6. So those are my coordinates. Okay, what else? I need to find the focus. So the focus is going to be inside the ellipse somewhere in here. Remember, it's on the major axis only. I don't know exactly where it is, but I want to figure that out. So focus equals, and it's a square root, and it's always the bigger number minus the smaller number, so it's going to be 36 minus 4. So the focus length is going to be radical 32. Okay. Well, since it's here and here, okay, I'm going from the center. So the center is at negative 2, 4, and I'm moving to the right and to the left. So for my focus, it's going to be exactly where my center is, which is at negative 2, and then I'm going to go to the right, radical 2. So I have to, radical 32. So I'm going to add radical 32. My y number is still 4. So that's this coordinate here, or about where that would be. My other focus coordinate is to the left. So I'm starting at -2, but I'm subtracting radical 32. And then my y coordinate is 4. So those are my focus coordinates. Okay, let's take a look at number 4. We're going to write this equation of an ellipse in standard form. So to do this, we're going to use completing the square. So first thing I'm going to do is divide everything by -9. Oh no, don't want to do that. Hang on. Okay, let's erase that. I definitely don't want to divide. So this is going to be a little different than the other question we did. All right, make sure everything's in order. The x's and the y's are next to each other. And what we want to do is we don't want a number in front of the x squared or the y squared. So my x squared is fine. I'm going to leave a space. Now, my y squared, I want to get rid of that 4. So I'm going to GCF out of 4, take a 4 out. I'm going to be left with y squared plus 2y, and I'm going to leave a space inside the parentheses. Okay, and I should have 2 spaces here. All right, so just like completing the square, we're going to take our -6, divide by 2, and square it. I get 9, so I'm going to add the 9 to both sides. We're going to do the same thing here. Look at what's inside the parenthesis. 2 divided by 2, square it. I get 1. Now, this is super important. Because I took the 4 out, I need to do 4 times 1, which is 4, and add that to the other side. So, on this side, I get a 4. On this side, I'm going to factor my x's. So I'm going to get x minus 3 squared plus, keep the 4 there, and then factor the inside, y plus 1 squared. Now I'm going to divide everything by the number on the end. So if I divide everything by 4, I'm going to get x minus 3 squared over 4 plus, the 4's cancel, I just get y plus 1 squared, and technically it would be over 1 equals 1. So that would be my equation of the ellipse. Okay, you are going to try this example. Okay, you're going to do exactly what I just did. If you want, you can pause it. I'm going to do one more example with you. Okay, so let's take a look at this example. Remember, we want to put everything in order, so I'm going to put my x's together. Then I'm going to put my y's together. And I'm going to move the number to the other side. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to take the GCF out of the x's, so take the 9 out, so I have x squared minus 2x, and then we're going to leave a space, and then we're going to take the 4 out of the y's, so I get y squared plus 8y, leave a space, and then equals 23, and then we're going to have 2 spaces we have to fill in. So just like we do completing the square, off to the side, I got -2 divided by 2 squared, which is going to be 1. So I'm going to add the 1 here, but I'm going to add 9 to the other side. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Oh, I did make a mistake. That should not be an 8 because I divided by 4. So let me fix that. That should be a 2. Okay, there we go. So then I'm going to do 2 divided by 2 squared, which is 1. But I'm not going to add 1 to the other side. I got to multiply it by the 4, so I'm going to add 4 to the other side. Okay, so we're going to keep the 9, and we're going to factor, so this would be x minus 1 squared plus, and then keep the 4. This is going to be y plus 1 squared equals, and then if I add everything on the other side, I get 36. Remember, ellipses are equal to 1, so I'm going to divide everything by 36. So my final answer is going to be x minus 1 squared, and then 9 goes into 36 4 times, so I get a 4 on the bottom, plus y plus 1 squared, and 4 goes into 36 9 times, so I get a 9 on the bottom, equals 1. So that is my equation. Okay, make sure you go back and try the other one, and I'll see you next class.